Jill and Derek Dillard have quietly been navigating a deeply transformative chapter in their lives. In recent months, the couple has stepped away from public life to focus on healing and growth. This period of reflection was catalyzed by a deeply personal experience that shifted their perspective and strengthened their commitment to authenticity and resilience. In response to this season of emotional and spiritual change, Jill and Derek chose to speak openly, embracing honesty and vulnerability as a way to process and connect. Their journey has not been easy. It stirred old memories and challenged them to reflect on the personal and familial struggles they've faced over the years. Jill, through her blog and social platforms, documented her path toward emotional recovery, not for attention, but to let others walking similar roads know they weren't alone. Her words, filled with raw emotion and deep introspection, struck a chord with many. One moment that captured hearts was a quiet gathering held to honor a recent turning point in their lives. Attendees included family members whose presence was unexpected due to long-standing tensions. And yet, in that tender moment, differences seemed to melt away, if only temporarily, under the weight of shared experience. Photographs later surfaced of Jill and Derek reuniting with extended family during the holidays, prompting speculation about a possible reconciliation. The couple addressed the attention candidly, explaining that while the interaction was civil, it did not indicate a sweeping resolution. Their tone, as always, remained respectful yet honest. Jill and Derek have continued to distance themselves from the public systems and belief structures that once defined them. Their personal evolution has been marked by introspective questioning, quiet defiance, and a growing sense of purpose. Their shared life now is centered on creating a nurturing, honest home, a place where their children are raised with love, emotional safety, and freedom of thought. Jill's influence as a voice for authenticity and mental health is growing. Her journey resonates deeply with women, especially those who've walked away from rigid, controlling environments. Through her openness, she's become a beacon of strength for others. Derek, too, has evolved from youthful newlywed to steadfast partner and advocate. Now a practicing attorney, he often stands by Jill both publicly and privately, offering her the support and respect that have become hallmarks of their relationship. And then there is this next chapter, a different kind of motherhood. Every morning, Jill sits by the window with the same cup of lukewarm tea she always makes but never drinks. From the outside, she looks like just another woman with a quiet smile and tired eyes. But inside, something has shifted. She is a mother again, not biologically, but in a way that speaks to something deeper. Once her home rang with the sounds of young children. Toys, giggles, late-night lullabies, the chaos and joy of parenthood. But life changed, and the echoes of that joy faded. The photos and folded blankets remained, quiet reminders of who she had been. That she found a purpose again. Life after loss wasn't a job, it was a calling. It began as a community space for women like Jill, who had loved deeply and lived through deep changes. They gathered to support one another, to cry, to listen. But when children started showing up, kids who carried invisible burdens of their own, everything changed. Some had no lunch. Some had no parents. Some carried stories no child should know. The world said, educate them. No one said, love them. So Jill did. She showed up, not as a teacher or counselor, just as Jill. In her yellow cardigan, she waited by the school gates with a basket of apples. A child would cry, and she'd kneel, wipe a face, offer a smile, whispering, "You're safe now." They started calling her Mother Jill. One by one, women like her were recognized as guardians of healing. Life after loss had 4 mothers before her. Jill became the 5th. She didn't even know it had become official until they handed her a small silver pin. Simple, engraved with a number 5. "Welcome," they told her. "You've earned it." She left through tears, holding the pin close. "I thought I'd retired from motherhood," she said. "No," came the reply. "Duggar just got promoted." Finally, Jill becomes mother number 5. Kids walk out of school, presented as a heartfelt, imaginative narrative. It's within 1,500 words and blends emotional storytelling with a touch of satire and a splash of reality TV drama flair. Duggar pregnant. Finally, Jill becomes mother number 5. Kids walk out of school. By someone who knows a little too much about the Duggar family tree. The headlines were everywhere. Flashing, bold, loud. Duggar pregnant. Jill becomes mother number 5, but not the way you think. Chaos erupts as kids walk out of school in protest. At first glance, it looked like any other Duggar scandal, the kind that ping-pongs across morning talk shows and YouTube reaction channels before fading into tabloid history. But this time, the story behind the clickbait was something else entirely. It wasn't what people assumed. Jill Duggar Dillard wasn't expecting a baby. Not a biological one, anyway. She was stepping into something far stranger. Something louder. Something that made national news when 27 children walked out of their school with backpacks, cardboard signs, and a homemade banner that read, "Mother Jill saves kids, not just souls." Let's rewind a little. Chapter 1. A different kind of expecting. It started small. Quietly even. A few years ago, Jill and her husband Derek had begun building a life that didn't look anything like the one she'd grown up with. No reality cameras. No parent-mandated dress codes. No silence around trauma. They'd experienced deep loss, pulled away from the spotlight, and found a new rhythm. One that sounded like therapy sessions, messy faith, and counseling instead of commandments. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Still, something was missing. Jill could feel it in her chest, a kind of ache that had nothing to do with fame or family estrangement. Then came the kids. Not hers. But the ones who arrived each morning at a little public elementary school down the road from her Arkansas home. Hair unbrushed, shoes worn thin, eyes carrying secrets. They weren't on TV. They weren't in any homeschool co-op. But they knew pain, confusion, and loneliness just the same. One morning, Jill showed up at the school gate with a basket of bananas, a cooler full of cheese sticks, and a gentle voice. She wasn't there to preach. She didn't hand out tracts. She didn't even mention God. She just listened. That was enough. The children started calling her Mother Jill, at first as a joke, and then with something closer to reverence. She wasn't their mom, not legally, but she was showing up every day. And sometimes that's what being a parent looks like. Word spread. Teachers noticed a change. Kids with behavioral issues started calming down. Grades rose. Lunchboxes filled with notes that said you matter. And somewhere along the way, someone in the Life After Loss Community Center, where Jill volunteered part-time, handed her a pin with the number 5 on it. It was a small silver badge, nothing fancy. But in that moment, Jill became the 5th officially recognized mother in the center's Grief to Growth mentoring program. She cried when they pinned it on her yellow cardigan. "I thought I was done being a mom," she whispered. "No," the coordinator smiled. "You're just beginning again." Chapter 2. The Walkout. It happened on a Tuesday. No one knows which kid started it, probably Maya, the 3rd grader with a pixie cut and a will of steel. But around 11:05 a.m., a dozen students stood up during lunch and walked straight out of the cafeteria. By 11:20, they were on the lawn. By 11:35, they were marching toward the parking lot. And by noon, they were standing outside the school gates with cardboard signs that read, "Give us back Mother Jill. She listens. She loves. Let her in." Hugs are not against school policy. The school had recently informed Jill that, due to new district policies, she could no longer visit campus without a certified position or administrative approval. Something about liability and over-involvement. Bureaucracy speak. The kids weren't having it. They staged a walkout, completely unsupervised, fueled by passion, and perhaps a bit too much cafeteria chocolate milk. A teacher finally intervened when one of the kindergartners tried to organize a sit-in using construction paper and glitter glue. Local news caught the chaos on camera. The footage went viral. There was Jill, appearing half-stunned and half-laughing, trying to shepherd the kids back inside while a reporter shoved a microphone in her face. "Are you starting a movement?" they asked. "I just handed out bananas," Jill said. But the internet had already decided this was bigger than bananas. Chapter 3. The Mother Number 5 Moment. That night, Jill sat on her porch with Derek, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing the number on her little silver pin. "Mother Number 5, he said softly, handing her a mug of tea. "It suits you." She chuckled. "You know how much the headlines are going to twist this." He raised an eyebrow. "You mean Duggar pre Jeanette." Jill reclaims motherhood after wild school protest. She nearly spit her tea. I never thought it would look like this," she said after a pause. "Being a mom again. I thought I was done. That part of me was over." Derek squeezed her hand. "Turns out motherhood has more forms than anyone ever told you." And it did. Because it wasn't about diapers or baby monitors anymore. It was about being present, about being steady, about showing up when the world says don't bother. It was about offering your lap to a child who thinks love is earned, or reminding an angry teen that they are more than the worst thing they've ever done. It was about loving when it wasn't expected or required. Chapter 4. Not the story you think. Yes, Jill Duggar is a mother again, but not the way the headlines scream. She's not carrying a child. She's carrying a mission. She's mentoring the forgotten, hugging the abandoned, writing letters to children in foster care, hosting free Saturday lunches under a tree behind the community center with nothing but thermoses of soup and stories to share. And sure, kids walked out of school that day, but maybe what they were really walking out of was silence. Out of invisibility, into someone's arms who finally saw them. Jill Duggar Dillard is Mother Number 5. Not because of biology, because of bravery. Because she chose to mother in a world that doesn't always reward kindness. Because she made motherhood a verb again. So yes, Duggar is pregnant, with purpose, with hope, with something worth showing up for. And in a world starving for genuine connection, that might just be the most radical motherhood of all.